Hello, world, and welcome to Creating Light with Kelsey, and welcome to my discomfort. We just keep getting comfy with discomfort. New level, new devil, more layers. Does it ever end? No, because man, this is this has been challenging coming back on the podcast on a weekly basis with the intention and the purpose of sharing my story, re-sharing my story. Because if you've been listening, how we restarted it was on episode 48, titled I've Been Hiding, realizing that my main intention of even starting this platform was to be seen, to share my story, to teach from that place and provide insight that you're not alone, to show the messiness of the human experience, to actually be seen for my darkness during that phase of life when I was in it. I was truly living in darkness and speaking from that point because there's enough information out in the world to where people are talking about being on the other side of it. But there's a lot of missing components of when people really talk about the time period that they were in it. And how do you navigate that? How do you accept that? How do you show that compassion? And a lot of times people want to really hide that part of themselves and that their story because we all have it to an extent, a way to not be seen, and what to be seen is how we conquered that dark time. But sharing about that dark time is equally, if not more important than sharing about the other side, because the other side wouldn't have existed or even been here if it wasn't for that dark period that you lived through. So, yeah, coming back around to that, sharing it it's been tough. There's so much fear that's coursed through me and shame trying to protect me and giving me reasons to not continue and to do other stuff like anything anything else but this. But then, when I reach out to my community and I'm them on this process, I mean, my community are the guests that you're listening to. Like the guests on the podcast are also my people that are on this path, and people that I trust and continue to build deeper relationships with. And so as I'm reaching out to them and bringing them on for interviews, it's also helping me touch base of like where I'm at on this podcast journey, and them helping me. Like they don't realize this, but they're like helping me hold this container and be an additional like foundation for me that I can land on and rest on, and that they show the light on this and hold me in that, and reminding me of the why and of the purpose of like, this is big and what I am doing is massive and is needed. And these conversations need to be out in the world and not hidden, because healing is not love and light. That love and light is the embodiment of our own darkness. That's how that truly gets to be here. And we're in unison and dancing in relationship with it all, the whole spectrum, the lovely duality of feelings and being human. Um, so yeah, they point me back in that direction. That just came out of nowhere. That was not planned, but I'm very grateful for that, to have support, because I can't do it alone. Oh my God, I can't do it alone because this is challenging. But I wanted to check in with you all real time of how I'm processing this, and that, like, yes, I'm re-releasing the episodes from 2021. And if you've been listening, you'll notice that not every single episode is me sharing a little tidbit of a life story or of my past experiences. It's sprinkled, and it's sprinkled because I gotta maintain my own body boundaries and thresholds and tending to that, because what's surfacing again as I'm coming back out to be seen and shining light on the dark is these shadows that I previously had a very strong relationship with that I tried to suppress and shove back down again when I took the podcast down at the end of 2022. Ew. So now they're back. And well, because they never lived. They're just I'm making contact with them again and they're not very happy. They're more so scared to be abandoned again. And that's been a rough reality check of shit. I abandoned myself again. And not only that, I silenced myself again. Like I was stepping into this power, this personal power of being silenced through sexual abuse and then coming to a place of healing to be able to talk about it and then share about it and then teach from that place of how I navigated that healing journey for me at that time. And then I silenced myself again, all over again. Cannot be seen in my own medicine. Because that's what I'm here to do, right? Like who's they? Everybody. They say that your greatest pain is your biggest purpose, or your greatest pain is like your medicine that you give to the world. And I do truly believe that. Um, yeah, so I want to be honest in that this is not easy. Like but each time I release an episode, I feel so proud of myself and I feel so held, and my shadows in my darkness continue to feel loved by me. Of like, oh, you're proud of me, that you're allowing us to be seen again, and that you are actually accepting us and unconditionally loving us, and that you are again coming back into no longer feeling that we have to exist and be a certain way to be okay, or to be seen in your own warped way that is actually not us and who we are. And if you this is yeah. And because if I do that, and that's been this whole reality check of why it's so very important for me particularly to be on this platform, is that because if I do that, if I try to warp my shadows and only allow myself to be seen in ways that I deem as acceptable, or only just the darkness that's just okay to be seen, or just not, you know, only showing the highlights or whatever, I'm not being authentic to who I am and what I teach. Because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if I'm here to teach you all about gaining a relationship with your darkness, and then behind closed doors, I'm shoving my darkness down to not be seen and to not talk about it. But yet I'm going to put on the hat of a teacher to talk about it. What the fuck am I doing? And yeah, and that's what came back around the fall of 2024, of like, you took your story down at the end of 2022, kind of podcasted still a little bit in 2023, but you weren't really talking about shit. You're kind of talking about shit, but not really. You're tiptoeing around around what you truly came here to speak about. So yeah, coming back, which you all know. You all know that. We came back. We're here. We are out here. We are doing it. And in the shadow part of self, one particular shadow that has been having a really hard time recently has been the victim. And because it's her story. She's the one that lived in darkness. She's the one that was there and fully experienced all of this. And then she is the one that was silenced by other people and by me. So then now I'm the one that's coming back out and sharing the story, but it's her story, and giving her room to speak and be seen again. She's scared. and uncomfortable because I can't control how people hear this, how you all receive it, how you perceive me as you hear these, uh, as you hear about my own darkness and my internal world. I can't control that. And that's scary. And that's what I tried to control in 2021 or I mean, in 2022, when I took the podcast down, was like a whole other wave came back in of no longer wanting, I didn't want to be seen as a victim. I didn't want to be perceived as that. I didn't want people to know about my sexual trauma and sexual abuse. I didn't want people to look at me in that way at all. Or, yeah, I just wanted to hide that away because that is not all of who I am. And I was getting so fixated on this one part of like, I don't want that to quote unquote taint how people view me if they know this about my past. But by allowing that fear and control to rule the present moment, I then shoved that all back down into the shadow space of just full rejection of self. Because if we do that to one part, that's a very big, significant part of our life, because that was such a big fucking chunk of time. That's going to permeate into all of your being in existence because how you do one thing is how you do everything. And yes, we're always going to be in a constant evolution of uncovering and integrating and understanding and gaining deeper relationships with our internal world. And it's never like we're going to know absolutely everything that's within our psyche and body and soma. But for me, I already knew that this part existed and gained a relationship from it. So from that knowing and a certain level of embodiment to then take that and with my own free will shove it back down, uh that's where it's like how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if I something comes up, I used to face it and then I choose to shove it back down and ignore it and neglect it and reject myself in a way that is going to show up in every other aspect of my life and hiding, being inauthentic. And it's wild because the thing with this fucking podcast and the feedback that I constantly get and deeper relationships that I have with people, the feedback that they give me is how authentic I am. And that only rings true when I'm authentic with myself and real with my own darkness and allowing it to be seen. And there's nothing wrong with your darkness. There's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you. It just is. And allowing it to be seen and gaining a relationship with it is learning how to tend to yourself ultimately. Because with this victim part of self really coming back up is showing me where, because she, was voicing like, and I do parts psychology, so that's why I talk about this. Because if you're like, what the fuck are you talking about, lady? Parts psychology. And I work with that through journaling, my internal dialogue, art making, like it all kind of like weaves into each other in that way and how I tend to myself, which is what I teach my clients as well. But one of the things that she was saying was how there was this level of trust of like, I don't like one, like why don't you like me? Why don't you accept me? No one ever likes a victim. They only feel sorry for them for a little bit and then they just want them to get better. Everyone just always wants me to get better and not be a victim, but what if I am? What if I just am a victim and I can't do anything about that? I can't change the fact that things have happened in a way that has created this part of self of someone that was actually a victim at one point in time. Like that exists and I can't do anything about that. And then because of that is like, well, of her speaking in that way of you neglecting me and abandon me again I don't fully trust you. And then how's that level of trust? This is what I mean by like how you do one thing is how you do everything. So then if that some deep internal aspect of self is not trusting me, then how is that kind of leaking out into my current present moment existence and daily life of trust, of where trust is not there? And then I'd be operating out of like anxiety and fear and trying to control things and not actually surrendering and making things way more difficult than they have to fucking be. Because that's definitely happening right now, and that's showing up through work. So we love this. We love this for us. But this is also as we come back, because again, we're not perfect, and the healing journey is not linear. And sometimes it may feel like you've stepped off or you spiraled deeper and you're repeating stuff. But one, you're never exactly the same. Even if you feel like you've gone backwards or doing the same shit, that you can't erase the wisdom, whether it be conscious or unconscious, that comes with you through every step and every layer and every spiral or every loop. Like you can't, so you're never exactly the same or doing the exact same stuff because your experiences and that wisdom, conscious or unconscious, comes with you at every step of the way. And so for this, of like, oh, we're coming back. Oh, we're meeting the victim again. Oh, we're seeing where we abandoned and neglected ourselves again. And oh, we're being seen again. We're speaking up again. This is a whole other layer of liberation also. And that's the thing as we meet ourselves and we meet our darkness. As we're in relationship with that, as a byproduct, I'm also in relationship with liberation. For me, those are the two sides of the same coin. It's not necessarily like it's kind of well, it's kind of funny because my brand is creating light, but it's the like, it's this is kind of the honestly, this is coming to me like right now as I'm speaking. So might change my mind later. So I don't, whatever. Uh if it resonates, it resonates. But I see what I'm seeing right now is like darkness. It's not like necessarily darkness and light is this the same coin. It's darkness and liberation. Those are the same side of the coin. Like as you allow yourself to go deeper within your being and your soul, then you allow yourself to become more free in the process. And through that, you keep shining light on the dark, and then more light is shown on your liberation. And you get to embody both, creating that. So, although this is uncomfortable as all get out, I also know I'm getting more and more free. And my victim part of self, all my other shadows, they deserve that. They deserve it because they've been shoved away for so long, probably longer than I could ever remember, and way before me too. So we are doing our best. But there's my update. My just a little tidbit of an update of what I've been internally navigating as I'm back on the podcast. And this is only just the beginning. So let's fucking see what else keeps unraveling, right? And thank you for being here. Thank you for witnessing me. I know that some of you have reached out and say that you look forward to these weekly episodes. So I know that that is also, that keeps me going too, because I'm showing up for you also. Like this isn't just about me. I'm showing up for you too. It's my liberation is your liberation. So yeah, thank you. And remember, when we see the light in ourselves, we create light in others.